Elon Musk laid off all the female developers at Twitter. As you can see in this pic from him leaving a late night code review, there are not any women in the picture. So I'm going to talk about the Twitter layoffs and women in tech. Now I'll back up and say, okay, he did not lay off all the female developers. I do see some suspected females in the picture as circled here. Twitter doesn't actually make that much profit. It's yearly revenue. Now, revenue is missing profit, remember that. But in 2012, they made $0.3 billion, so $300 million in revenue. Most recently in 2021, they made $5 billion in revenue. So revenue is not including costs. So there's 7,500 employees. At a generous level, let's say that each employee was making $150,000. And that's generous because these people in executive positions were likely making 400 grand. So in 2021, it was likely that the cost of the employee salary alone, that's not even including the cost of insurance, is $1.1 billion. So the cost of the employees alone was making up a fifth or more of the company's revenue. That doesn't include the office buildings, the running the servers, any other costs that I can't think of right now. So generally speaking, it's not like it was a good deal for Musk. It would take 7 years with $5 billion profit to make the deal reasonable. Oh, by the way, I meant to say this. Look at my lights. They broke. My pretty background is broken. I'll replace them soon, and I'm diligently uploading on Thanksgiving, so I hope you guys appreciate. But a lot of people are saying that the people specifically laid off were women. You can see in this before picture of Twitter employees, there's a ton of women in the company, and then back to that other picture of Musk leaving the code review. Where are the women? Where did they go? Well, I think that a big part of that has to do with people working at Twitter that were not specifically developers. There's a lot of roles at Twitter before the layoffs happened that were not involved in the running of the company, but the moderation of the company or even the sales department. I mean, come on, like how many salespeople do you need for Twitter? You can sign up to advertise on Twitter on the website itself. So it's not like it's hard to do that. And everyone knows about Twitter. It's a top social media platform for advertising. So I'm not surprised to hear that they were laying off salespeople. What are they selling? I don't know. It looks like the company is more than half the size of before. I think it's 2,700 right now. Let me do a little bit math to see how much that's costing Musk. $400 million. So definitely cutting the cost of employees in the company in half. But the big question is, why aren't there more women in tech? Now, I'm going to say this as a recruiter, and I have hired in healthcare, construction, sales, and obviously tech. I do have to say, tech is the only industry where the hiring managers will ask for specifically women. Tech is the only industry where it is okay to discriminate against people based on their gender as long as you are preferencing women. You can go on to angellist.com, which is a startup website. It now got rebranded to some other name. Wellfound, formerly AngelList. Not sure why they renamed it because it's a terrible name, but on Wellfound, you can filter through people looking for a job based on their gender. The only genders that you can filter for are non-binary or women. And there's been a big cultural movement in America to get more women in tech. As Forbes reports, as things have improved in tech, women are still not equal in the workplace. They do not receive equal pay, they do not receive equal treatment, and they are still subjected to harassment and discrimination on the job. I'll read the rest of that, but I have to step in and say women do receive equal pay in the tech industry. I see all of their salaries, and there is absolutely no difference between the gender on the pay. When it comes to not receiving equal treatment, yeah, I would say that's true. They usually receive preferred treatment in the industry. Tech is a great place for women to go into because you will most likely be picked out of other candidates for the diversity bid. Hate to say it, but that's what it is. And the subject to harassment and discrimination, that's true. Women are subject to harassment in the tech industry. There is an unfortunate environment where it is mostly men and there can be awkward moments, but in most American companies, people in leadership positions must receive sexual harassment training. Even I had to get it, and I don't manage a single person. So there is a lot of actions taken within any company, even the tech industry, to avoid harassment. It's not just women that are getting harassed. The tech industry is one of the most diverse industries industry out there. Part of that is because of the H-1B system. You can check out my video on that wherever the link is. But it's also because a lot of people in the tech industry are trying to push for more diversity in tech. Tech is one of the best paid industries, maybe the best paid industry in America. So a lot of people in leadership will be inspired to get more people in the industry, especially those that have low income backgrounds or less educational opportunity. And tech is one of the only industries where you can get paid $250,000 a year without having a college degree. So there is discrimination and harassment in tech, and sometimes that works in the favor of women. Sometimes that is the nature of working in a male-dominated industry. Let's keep reading what Forbes says. Take a look around at most software development companies, startups, construction firms, and other businesses who employ engineers, developers, database experts, and other technology types. You'll see an overwhelmingly large percentage of men working there. I gotta say, there's not a lot of technology developers at construction companies. It's not fair to say that, but construction managers do often make the same salaries as software developers, and there's also not a lot of women in construction. According to the study from the National Center of Education Statistics, 4 of the 10 most popular master's degrees by men are in technology-focused fields like mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, computer science, and information sciences. For women, there are no technology masters that are in the top 10. Both genders took equal amount of business-related degrees, but most graduate degrees taken by women are in education, nursing, social work, and counseling. Now, when people complain about women not being in tech, they're not complaining about women and their presence in nursing and counseling, that's for sure. There's a lot of nurses who make good money. I mean, it's like a nurse that has 3 engineers is making 120 grand, which is not too far off from what a developer makes for 3 years of experience in that same city. According to Pew Research, many women choose to stay at home as mothers and they look for careers that are more flexible than a technology job. Okay, yeah, healthcare, you can work later hours or different kinds of hours that might be good to fit around a kids' work or school schedule or taking care of kids, but I wouldn't say that healthcare is more friendly to being a stay-at-home mom. Perhaps remote work is a really good kind of job for people who have kids at home, but even if you're working at home, you can't really stop your job and go do your kid thing. This idea that being a remote worker is a way that people can still be stay-at-home moms is not really realistic. Sure, they're at home at the moment, but they're not being a mom during the workday. So these jobs may offer more flexibility in the places to work or the ability to take time off, but they're not exactly going to help someone maintain their status as a stay-at-home mom. So I'm not sure how realistic that is. Forbes goes on to say, the real reason why fewer women in tech isn't because of discrimination, harassment, or unequal pay. The real reason is most women clearly aren't interested in technology-related work as men are, and it's a choice. That's a big question. Why aren't women interested in tech work? There's a lot of initiatives out there to get more women in STEM, get little girls in STEM. There's a lot of advantages such as women-only coding programs or women-only technology groups that are great for networking. And I've seen plenty, well, can I say plenty? I've seen several women in leadership positions in the technology environment. A lot of people say there's not that many women in tech because they don't get mentored much on the job, and there is some reasonable claim against that. Because of the Me Too movement, a lot of senior people that are of the male gender may feel uncomfortable spending too much close proximity time with their female coworkers because of the fear of harassment. And a lot of people would say, well, if you're not creepy and harassing, what's the fear about? But I mean, let's give them a break, and it's kind of reasonable. Why did Musk lay off all the female engineers? Well, Musk probably cut a lot of departments that had a lot more women. Contractors were also cut in mass, but it just happens to be that there's more men in development. The reality of being a developer, anyone watching this who is a developer knows, is that there's a lot of long hours. There's a lot of last minute work that needs to be put in under high pressure. There's on call where people have to drop everything and fix a problem. There's a high stress environment. And while YouTubers may make it seem like it's so easy to get in tech and their job is so cake, well, the reality is coming out. Twitter is showing the truth that a lot of big tech companies have been underworking their employees. Part of that has been because they're trying to create a good work-life balance. That was a big trend for the past 5 years, as well as the diversity in the employment. But the reality is that a lot of people who are in these big tech companies, brand names that you know of, have become accustomed to not working long hours, not working overtime, not even working a full 40-hour a week. They say, well, if I can get all the work done in 40 hours, then I can only work 5 hours a day. And that works a lot when the company is making profit, but $5 billion a year revenue, $1 billion alone, 1.1 in the cost of employees, at a generously low guesstimate the cost of employees, it seems really obvious that a company that is not in financial distress doesn't need to ensure their workers and employees are working at full throttle. And I think Twitter is a sign to the rest of the tech industry that people should be prepared for, that there will be an expectation for longer hours. There'll be an expectation for people to work harder at their job to make sure that they are earning their pay. And this is a totally foreign concept to the tech industry. But I think next year, more and more companies are going to be turning up the workload on their current employees to justify the cost of these employees. If tech is going to be one of the highest paid industries, then when we go into a recession, it's also going to be an industry where the expectation is going to rise and people will be expected to earn their salary more and more. And I don't think it's necessarily the long work hours that scared off women from Twitter. There's a lot of young women in the industry who are fastly excelling through their career, easily able to work these long hours or meet these sudden deadlines. That could possibly be because less and less women are choosing to become mothers or married nowadays, and the tech industry is predominantly a liberal industry. And let's be honest, as the recession goes on, less and less mothers will be able to be stay-at-home mothers. The cost of things are going to continue to go up, and layoffs are going to continue to spread through the tech industry. So a lot more people are going to have to be employed, especially these stay-at-home moms. A lot of them might have to go back to their big tech jobs that they had left to have kids. And let's remember, there's a lot of other high-paid industries that don't have as big of a representation of women. Like I had mentioned, construction managers or directors of constructions are easily making $200K if they're in major cities. Physicians, a predominantly male field, often make $200, $300, $400K. Whereas when you look at education, teachers are famously underpaid. Even if they're going to be superintendents or in leadership positions, they're simply never going to reach the same salary as someone working in construction or technology. Even for counseling or social work. Social work is also a field that's well known for not being high paid. While therapists are becoming more in demand because of the emotional trauma from COVID, they're still not the highest paid. It's kind of hard to find a full-time gig as a therapist, hence why these apps like BetterHelp are helping give more employment opportunities to people in the counseling industry. So if you hear anyone saying that Musk is discriminating against women and laying off women alone, remind them that there's not a lot of women in tech. Why isn't there a lot of women in tech? Well, it could be because one, it's a stressful field with long hours and high demands. Two, women just naturally don't go into those fields from college, and the stats show it. And three, yeah, there's women in tech. There's a lot of developers. I know 2 developers who have a huge Instagram following because they're beautiful women working in tech. I also think part of the reason that not a lot of women stay in tech long term, a report shows that women are more likely to quit a job after or before the first year anniversary comes up, is there's a lot of awkward men in tech, a lot of socially awkward men in tech who don't have any social skills that might inadvertently make uncomfortable situations because of their lack of social ability. This is kind of mean and blunt to say, but it's true. I've been the only woman working at a company, and the major changes were there was a sign to put the seat down. I appreciated that. And then at social events, they might accidentally ask a question that isn't appropriate for me to answer or might make me uncomfortable to answer. But in the day-to-day work, I felt no discrimination. That's my personal experience, but I can bet money that a lot of women do eventually leave the tech industry because of the social aspect of it, working with people who are socially awkward, who may feel more awkward around a woman in the environment. Maybe it's because they don't have much interaction with women in tech. tech. Maybe it's because women use more emotions to express themselves, so that is kind of a sexist point of view, but that is the reality. I've also worked in a predominantly female environment, and in that environment there was a lot of more communication through body language. I don't know that many developers who are attuned to communicating through body language, so I do think an aspect of women not being in tech is the weird nerds in tech that make them feel uncomfortable. And there's plenty of women who are in director or VP positions in the tech environment. So no, tech is not a place that specifically excludes women. It's because men just tend towards those kind of jobs, and that's perfectly fine too. So do I think that Musk is going too far with the layoffs? Absolutely not. I don't understand how Twitter, who only makes $5 billion in revenue, has 7,500 employees. It's now to 2,700, and I still have no clue why they need that many employees. It's a stable platform that has minimal updates and minimal new features. So I'm not sure why there's so many people. I totally agree with cutting a ton of the sales staff, because what are they selling? Everyone knows Twitter by now. I mean, I think that PR might need a little help, but a lot of new users are coming on. Reports show that the downloads of Twitter are increasing and the overall traffic on Twitter is increasing. So this idea that having those extra employees was needed to make the company successful is not really realistic. And if any women in tech are watching this, I suggest that you really take advantage of your privilege in the industry. I have heard from both engineering managers, HR managers, directors, VPs, asking specifically to only interview women for new developer roles. So take advantage of it while you can. There's not really any other industry. I know in construction, there's no special preference to women, but in tech, there definitely is a special preference for women. And I think over time that preference will eventually go away as more and more women get in tech. It used to be about 9% of women in developer positions, and now it's at 18, so clearly it's growing. And young women do see that people in tech make more money, developers make more money, so they're certainly running their way there. As we go into the recession in general, it's going to be hard for anyone to get a job in tech, either a higher paying job, a better title, or the fresh college grads looking for their first tech jobs. Anyone that is a fresh college grad watching this, you know how hard it is to get a developer job right now, so of course that's going to hit women. And yeah, tech probably could use for more internal company programs to unite the females in the company, but the company doesn't have to provide that when there's so many women-based organizations in tech that help network, find new jobs, how to negotiate higher salaries. There was also another reason they said that women in tech, there was also another reason that was said why there weren't more women in leadership positions in tech. And they said it's because women don't feel capable of applying to jobs that they're not qualified for, or they're less able to negotiate a higher salary. But I'm sorry, if you are on YouTube right now, you can go into the search button and learn how to negotiate for a higher salary and how to apply for a job that you're not entirely qualified. I think those are antiquated ideas that would be more applicable in an industry that was less connected, but there's just so many social media influencers out there encouraging people to apply for jobs they're underqualified for or get higher salaries. And especially in a recession, I don't think that the want for higher salaries is going to be exclusive to one gender alone. But that's just my thoughts and my experience of hiring people in the tech industry. I do see a lot more women in database and data engineer roles than developer roles. When it comes to senior developer roles, it seems to be 1 out of every 9 is going to be a woman. But when it comes to like a database engineer role, I think it's like 4 out of 10 that are going to be women, if not more. And I see plenty of women who have computer science masters. I think that a lot of that's because a master's degree can get you a STEM OPT that allows you to work in the country legally for 3 years. So I see a lot of people in tech, a lot of women in tech who have master's degrees that might not be represented in those numbers. Generally speaking, women have more master's degrees, and it is more of a women-focused thing to do, probably because women like to go into, like the article said, social work that requires masters to actually work in the industry. But that's just my humble opinion as a tech recruiter. Thanks for watching this video. If you are on the job search, please subscribe to this channel. If you are a woman in tech, I encourage you to take advantage of your privilege while it still exists. Please like this video so other people like you can see it, and let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.